Have you ever just stood in a room, looked at the chaos, and felt this wave of exhaustion and shame just wash over you? If that sounds familiar, this one's for you. We're going to dive into the brilliant work of Alvaro Meja and figure out how to turn that clutter into calm without any of the guilt.
So the guide kicks off with this exact sentiment. It's not an order to start cleaning, not at all. It's an invitation to just let go of all that tension. This whole approach is built on being gentle with yourself. So let's start right there, just by taking a breath.
You know that feeling, right? That little nagging voice in your head that turns a pile of mail or a messy countertop into some kind of personal failure. It's that feeling that makes the task seem 100 times bigger than it really is.
And here is the single most important message we're going to unpack today. You are not alone in this, and it is not your fault. This isn't about willpower or some deep character flaw. It's about biology, brain chemistry, and a really powerful psychological barrier that actually has a name.
Okay, so first we have to give a name to that overwhelming feeling. Meja calls it the wall of awful. And honestly, it's the perfect metaphor for what's happening when you feel completely and totally stuck.
Think about it like this. Every time you think, I should really clean that, and then you don't, you add a brick to the wall. Every time someone makes a critical comment, that's another brick. And pretty soon, you're not just looking at some clutter anymore. You're staring up at this massive, towering wall of failure. And from down there, it feels impossible to even start.
So, let's peek behind that wall, shall we? It is absolutely crucial to understand that what feels like laziness is actually a biological process. We're about to bust the myth that this is all about just not trying hard enough.
I mean, this quote just nails it. Think of your brain's executive functions like the air traffic controller at a busy airport. For neurodivergent brains, and especially for those with ADHD, that controller is trying to manage way too many flights at once. And what happens? A total standstill. It's a traffic jam, not a moral failing.
And here's what that traffic jam actually looks like in real time. For a neurotypical brain, sorting the mail is, a pretty simple, straightforward task. But for an ADHD brain, that exact same task can set off a whole chain reaction of thoughts, memories, and emotions. By the time you get to the end, the brain is just wiped out from all those tiny little decisions. It's not laziness, it's decision fatigue.
And that fatigue, it feeds right into this vicious cycle you see here. The shame you feel doesn't actually motivate you. It does the exact opposite. It literally drains your brain of dopamine, which is the neurotransmitter you need for motivation and taking action. So to escape that awful feeling, you avoid the task, which only makes the mess and the shame get even bigger. Okay, so if fighting our own brain chemistry is the problem, then the solution has to be working with it, right? So this next part is all about practical, gentle strategies that don't ask you to become a new person, just to try a new approach.
This is the million-dollar question, isn't it? When you're standing at the bottom of that wall of awful and your motivation tank is completely empty, what is the absolute smallest, tiniest first step you can possibly take? And I just love this solution, the trash dash. The rules are super simple. You grab a bag, you set a timer for just 10 minutes, and here's the kicker. You are forbidden from organizing or sorting anything. Your only goal is to throw away obvious garbage. It's a low-decision, high-impact task that can instantly clear up some visual space and give you a tiny win to build on.
All right, so once you've gotten the obvious trash out, it's time to sort. Now, you've probably seen a 4-box method before, but Meja adds a crucial 5th box, the maybe box. This thing is a life raft for decision fatigue. It's a designated spot for anything you're stuck on, so that one tricky item doesn't stop all your progress in its tracks.
And here's the genius part. The rule for the maybe box basically outsources the decision to your future self. You seal it, you date it, and you put it away. You're just testing if you actually need that stuff. If 3 months go by and you haven't even thought about it, well, you've got your answer without having to agonize over every single item all over again.
Next up, let's talk about those areas where clutter seems to just magically appear out of nowhere. The thing is, clutter isn't random. It tends to pile up in predictable places, and we call those hotspots.
Let's look at these two super common examples. The solution isn't just to be more organized. It's to create a simple, dedicated system. For the entryway, a landing strip. A little bowl for keys, a hook for your bag, gives those things a home that's just as easy as the floor. For the kitchen, you don't need the whole counter to be spotless. Just one small, non-negotiable, clear zone.
But let's be real for a second. Life happens. The mess is going to come back. So instead of aiming for this impossible state of permanent perfection, the real skill is learning how to recover quickly when things get a little out of hand.
I just want to pause on this for a second because this is such a compassionate and realistic way to look at it. It takes all the pressure off of being perfect and puts the focus on being resilient. The goal isn't to never fall down, it's to get really good at getting back up.
And to help with that recovery, here is a very concrete tool, the 30-minute emergency reset. This is not about deep cleaning. Think of it more like a triage protocol for when you feel that panic rising or, guests are on their way, and you need to reclaim your space fast. And just look how simple these steps are. It's basically a clutter sweep. You grab a basket, you walk around collecting all the stuff that's out of place, and then, and this is the key, you hide the basket to deal with later. This isn't about perfect organization, it's about creating visual peace so you can finally breathe. It can make a room feel 80% better, and you can tackle the details when you actually have the energy. So as we wrap up, let's zoom out from all the tactics to the philosophy that holds this whole thing together. This is the big mindset shift that makes all the other strategies actually stick around for the long haul. You've probably heard this before, but it's a classic for a reason. Waiting for the perfect day, or the perfect mood, or the perfect organizing system is often the very thing that stops us from doing anything at all. Chasing perfection creates a standard that is literally impossible to meet, and that leads you right back to the bottom of the wall of awful.
So what's the alternative? Good enough. A home that functions. A space that supports you instead of stressing you out. The goal is sustainability, not perfection. You can achieve good enough on a tired Tuesday afternoon. Perfect is a special occasion that almost never shows up. And this is where we'll end, with these powerful last words from Alvaro Meja's guide. Because the ultimate goal isn't just a decluttered house, it's a mind that's free from shame. It's about creating a home, both inside you and outside you, where you feel like you truly belong, mess and all. Welcome home.